Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Auto insurance can all seem the same until it comes time to use it. So don't get stuck paying more for less coverage. Switch to USAA Auto Insurance and you could start saving money in no time. Get a quote today. Restrictions apply.
USAA.
Hey, it's Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast. The NBA playoffs are here and Michelob Ultra is getting you closer to the game than ever with courtside seats and more. Enter now at MichelobUltra.com/courtside. Michelob Ultra Superior Access Courtside 2024 to 2025 sweepstakes. No purchase necessary. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Ends on July 1st, 2025. Multiple entry periods. Visit MichelobUltra.com/superior access/courtside for free entry deadlines and official rules. Message and data rates may apply. Void where prohibited.
Gonna wait till it's officially rolling on. Okay. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dynasty Rewind. I'm your host, Michael Bauer, the best in the business. Once again, back in business. Joined as always in person this time by my faithful co-host, Nate, Professor Christian. We've been live streaming the last 2 days. We've got one going tomorrow. By the time you see this, those will already be out. But go ahead, go back. You can watch them. They'll be on the RSS feed as well. And Nate, the draft is coming to an end. The 7th round is happening right now as we're recording this. You enjoying the draft so far?
I am. The Ravens are having a very Ravens draft. We're just picking up defensive players, good players that are dropping down the board. You know, we just came off of the Quinn Ewers pick to the Dolphins. That's what just happened before we record. Zach is ecstatic over there in the living room, right, Zach?
Nope.
All right.
Zach is very ecstatic, as you can see. So, yeah, it's been an interesting draft. A lot of things that we'll be talking about in the coming weeks. Months even until the season starts. But for right now, we're going to hit you guys. We got a 3-round rookie mock draft. This is super flex, and it's with a half-point tight end premium. In the comments, don't come at us like, why not a full point? This is just what we decided. This is what a lot of the leagues that we play in are, so this is what we decided to go with. So, Nate, you went ahead and you set this up, and you gifted yourself the first overall pick. So why don't you go ahead and tell us who you picked and why?
Yeah, with the first overall pick, I went ahead and picked up Ashton Jeanty. It's a very easy pick. We've been talking about it for the entire time leading up to the draft. Now we get to actually see it happen. He did go to the Raiders, which really was the betting favorite going into the first night of the draft. Ended up happening. I love this landing spot. We've talked about it in the live stream, so now I'm going to talk about it in the podcast. He's in line for 300 touches on the ground this year. Additional through the air, 40, 50 receptions. He's a great receiving back. Going into the season, I said he was the best receiving back in college football, and he went ahead and became the best runner in college football as well. So this guy's ready to go. I'm ecstatic for the 101 right here.
Yeah, and a lot of people will look at his stats from his last year at Boise State and say, well, how can he be a great receiving back? He didn't catch a lot of passes this last year. But let's not forget, he didn't have to. Most of his runs were long breakaway runs. In 2023, he did have 43 receptions for 569 yards and 5 touchdowns. So he is more than a capable receiving back in his own right. So I love the pick at 101. And at the 102, I went ahead and I took a quarterback. This is super flex. I went ahead and took Cam Ward, who was the 101 in the draft to the Tennessee Titans. Shedeur Sanders, not the first overall pick. We're going to talk about him a little bit later. But look, I have no problem taking Cam Ward here. Cam Ward if it's Omari and Hampton. But Cam Ward's going to come in. I don't see any path where he's not the starter right away for the Titans. The Titans made some pretty decent moves. So I went ahead and took Cam Ward at the 102.
Yeah, I think that's a great pick, Mike. I think some people have been pushing him down to the 105, 106 in Superflex. I see no reason why not to start thinking about Cam Ward at the 102. You know, this is unique quarterbacks, and there's really not a lot of quarterback depth in this class, and Cam Ward has a lot of upside. Definitely worth picking at the 102, but I have seen him fall already to the 105 or 106. But at the 103, I'm picking up a guy that I like a lot. First-round draft capital for a running back is not something you come by every day, and Marion Hampton got it with his landing spot. Going to the Chargers, you know, you can't think of a much better landing spot based on volume and possible production, especially in getting to the end zone. Najee Harris is there, but didn't really sign a huge contract with the Chargers. They're only there for 1 year. Hampton is the guy moving forward. And this offense, it's a great spot for him to be in. He's got a quarterback that they know is going to, keep him and his offense on the field. And Hampton is built for this offense, built for handling the volume on all three downs. This is really a match made in heaven and something I'm really excited about. And hope I can get as much Hampton as I can.
Love the Omarion Hampton pick, a guy that I think a lot of people feel would have been the running back one in this class had Ashton Jeanty not been in this class. Of course, at least that's what I'm telling myself and everyone else. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to make my 104 pick. And I went, I was back and forth on this one between who I took and who Nate took. I can't fault anybody. Nate will get to his pick in a second. I went ahead and took Ted McMillan to the Panthers. Look, I like what the Panthers are doing offensively. They have Jeanty Sanders there. They drafted Xavier Legette last year. They got rid of Jonathan Mingo. He clearly wasn't going to be in their plans at all. Ted McMillan comes in, and I think he could be the wide receiver one for the Carolina Panthers. I don't know what that looks like. Bryce Young did play well towards the end of the season, though. So Ted McMillan at 104, I don't hate it. And like I said, I could have flip-flopped between my 104 and your 105. Nate, your 105, not Cam Ward, like you've said, we've seen him falling to. Who's your 105?
Yeah, I was kind of upset you picked up Ted McMillan because I do love Ted's landing spot. I love his opportunity with the Panthers moving forward. But I was certainly not upset to go ahead and grab Travis Hunter at the 105. I think this is a great value on Travis Hunter, who is like the best player in this draft. Going to the Jaguars, a bit of a surprise. We really thought the Browns were going to pick him. Andrew Berry, the GM, was talking about comparing him to, Ohtani over in the Dodgers. So, we thought he was going to the Browns, and I was like, who's going to throw him the ball? Well, apparently it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. I like that a lot. Not worried about Brian Thomas Jr. at all limiting Travis Hunter's ceiling. I think they can work together. On one of the live streams I talked about, not stylistically, but just production-wise, this could be Jamar Chase and T. Higgins for the Jaguars. And I think Trevor Lawrence could be a huge benefactor of this.
So.
I'm not worried about Travis Hunter. Both those guys can see 120-plus targets, both be top 24 wide receivers. Give me Travis Hunter at the 105, and then I think you start to, take a look at the board and start having some questions. You got to start making some decisions here after the 105.
And from what I've heard from the Jaguars GM, he's going to be primarily focused on offense with some defense sprinkled in. That was said on ESPN, so I'm not coming out and saying anything. I'm not just pulling it out of thin air. Let's also look at Travis Hunter's stats. 96 receptions, that led his conference, which is the Big 12. 15 touchdowns, also led the Big 12. 1,258 receiving yards, that was fifth in college football. So no slouch by any means there. And let's get back to my pick, which is the 106. Quinshon Judkins going to the Cleveland Browns, which I think is a fantastic pick. The Cleveland Browns did not re-sign Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb obviously coming off that injury this past year. And Quinshon Judkins comes in, and I think he's in line. Jerome Ford is not as big of an obstacle for Quinshon Judkins as Browns fans may believe. Look, Jerome Ford, thank you for everything you did for my fantasy teams the last couple of years. When I needed you, you were there for me. But the fact is, Quinshon Judkins is a better back right off the rip. He's more physical. He's not a slouch as a pass catcher either. We've seen that in the past. Obviously, at Ohio State, Travion Henderson, the superior pass catcher, but good at Ole Miss, good at Ohio State. Physical, bruising running back. I think he fits what the Cleveland Browns want to do. The Cleveland Browns having a very good offseason and draft. Questions around how they're building their quarterback room. We will get to that, I promise. Nate, the 107, this was your guy for the longest time. I think you were a little heartbroken where he got drafted, but tell us about it.
Yeah, I love the Judkins pick. I think this is a great landing spot for Judkins. And his Ohio State teammate goes to the Patriots, which is a landing spot that doesn't offer as much volume as a landing spot like the Browns for Judkins. But Henderson didn't need a lot of volume at Ohio State either to be extremely productive. This is one of the most efficient running backs in this draft class. So him going to a place where they already have Ramondre Stevenson signed there for a couple years doesn't worry me too much. It certainly does take away the upside of the volume that he could have got if he went to somewhere where he had the backfield to himself. But let's be honest, we were talking about the Bears as another option for Travion Henderson. DeAndre Swift would have been back there. I don't think Ramondre Stevenson is any bigger of an obstacle to carries and touches than DeAndre Swift. So overall, I've come around on this landing spot a little bit. I love the 1-2 punch for the Patriots, at least, of Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. We've seen Stevenson catch a lot of passes in his career, but Henderson's going to be that guy moving forward. And I think that, with a guy like Drake May as their future and not a lot of answers right now in that wide receiver room, TreVeyon Henderson could be one of the main guys in this passing game and therefore have a really good season in PPR leagues. So TreVeyon Henderson at the 107, it's a little bit farther down than I would have projected him before the draft. But I actually do think this is still a really good landing spot, still a really good running back. And I said we had question after the 105. I think it was kind of rather easy to make these next two picks, but after this is where we really have the question marks and the board really opens up.
Yeah, and let's not forget it's April. This is going to change between now and the start of the NFL season where these guys fall. So obviously you could disagree with our picks. That's perfectly reasonable, but this is how we're seeing things right now at the end of April. So let's go to my pick, the 108. I was kind of hedging a little bit here on who I wanted to pick. I went with Matthew Golden, who was a first-round pick of the NFL draft host Green Bay Packers. And a lot of people kind of down on Matthew Golden a little bit. It is a crowded wide receiver room for sure. You got Romeo Doubs. You have Jaden Reed. I can never say his name right. I'm sorry. You got Dontavian Wicks, Christian Watson, hurt right now. There's a lot. Bo Melton's still there. I'm probably forgetting someone. They did draft some other guys as well. But Matthew Golden, a little bit of a different receiver there. He's going to be primarily an outside receiver. He is blazing fast. And hey, look, there's really good news for you guys. Jordan Love loves to spread the ball around, pun intended, if you want. I think he's a good pick for the Packers. I think he's a good pick in your rookie drafts too at the 108. If you wanted to, again, swap him with my pick and Nate's pick, I would not blame you. Nate, let's talk about your pick. And he's got a new teammate too that Zach just updated me on. Oh. Why don't you tell me who it is, and I'll tell you about his new teammate is who just got picked in the 7th round.
All right. Well, with my next pick at the 109, I'm going with Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State, who got drafted to the Buccaneers and maybe starts off as the wide receiver 3 for this team. But with the contract status of Mike Evans after the next year being a free agent, Chris Godwin's there for essentially 2 more years. There is still a lot of openings there in the future for Egbuka, who I think is a really good pro, can really develop in that offense. We saw Baker Mayfield, just play so well this past year, earn his big contract extension that he had this year. And, with the passing yardage and passing touchdowns we've seen Mayfield do over the past 2 years, there is still production for a wide receiver 3 there in Tampa Bay. I think Egbuka, while, maybe not going to be one of the top 24 wide receivers this year, I think Egbuka is kind of this year's Roma Dunze, who was last year's JSN. I'm willing to wait a year on Egbuka, a year or two, and wait for that third-year breakout if I really have to, because I think it's going to be really, really good and still consistent on the way there. So at the 109, I'm still getting a really good wide receiver. I think Matthew Golden's a pretty good pick at the 108. I think there's a bit of a tier break between these two guys and Travis Hunter and Tech McMillan, but I'm still really happy to pick these kind of guys up at the end of the first.
Yeah, with me, Matthew Golden, I think he has a clear path to playing time right now, productivity right now, which is why I went that way. Egbuka does have a new teammate, Tez Johnson, going to the Bucs at pick 235. So that's a 7th-round draft pick. So welcome to Tampa Bay, Tez Johnson.
Wide receiver 5.
Yeah, exactly. So at the 110, again, this is a half-point tight end premium. I took Tyler Warren, and people might say, hey, Mike, why not Colston Loveland instead of Tyler Warren? Colston Loveland was drafted first. Look, I've been a Tyler Warren tight end 1 guy for quite some time now, and I just think he's so dynamic after the catch, a bit more so than Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland more physical, but Tyler Warren fills a void that the Colts have been looking for years at the tight end position. And I think a player like this can help whoever the quarterback is there. If it's Anthony Richardson, he's been injured, Daniel Jones, whoever it is, he's going to provide them with
Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard was drafted to the Colts too. So whoever it is playing back there, he's going to provide them with the easy, soft, underneath throws. But he's not just a guy who's going to catch it and fall down. He's going to give you something after the catch too. So I love Tyler Warren. At the 110, who knows? Towards the end of the summer, he could be going up from here too. But Nate, you also took a tight end at the 111.
I did. I was waiting, who's going to pick the tight end first? You went ahead and picked Tyler Warren.
Always tight end first, always.
Made it easy for me to go ahead and pick up Colston Loveland, who went before Tyler Warren in the actual NFL draft. But I still understand, 1A, 1B with these guys. They're both really talented. Both of these guys were top 15 picks in the NFL draft. So, these are the guys at the tight end position this year. And Colston Loveland going to the Bears, there's a bit more competition for targets. Well, maybe the Colts still do have a pretty decent receiver room out there.
They do.
There is a lot of competition for targets with the Bears, of course, drafting Luther Burden in the 2nd round as well. But I like what this offense is headed. I like Caleb Williams. I like Ben Johnson and how he used Sam Laporta. So I know that he can get the tight end the ball. And I think there's a lot of upside there. Even if he has less yardages than Tyler Warren and less receptions, I think that Colston Loveland's efficiency and touchdowns, if this offense really starts to hit, could keep him in that top 12 conversation year in and year out moving forward. Maybe not his rookie year, but I think he can be that kind of guy. So, picking up Colston Loveland as my consolation prize for the tight end too, you're obviously really happy with it.
Yeah, so let's take the last pick in the first round, and then I'll recap the first round for you guys. At the 112, hey, look, the Giants traded up for him, so there has to be some belief in this guy. Jackson Dart being picked 25th overall. An interesting quarterback room, to say the least. We have Russell Wilson, we have Jameis Winston, you got Jackson Dart in there as your first-round rookie, and then you have Tommy DeVito still sticking around. He'll be there in some capacity, I'm sure. And there's been a lot of questions about Jackson Dart. Can he play under center, this and that? Hey, the good news is you're picking at 112. You just won the championship. You don't have to find out right away. You can afford to put Jackson Dart on your taxi squad. Let him hang out there for a year while he learns the system. I don't think Jackson Dart should start at all this year unless he absolutely has to. But I still do believe. I've been a Jackson Dart fan from the beginning. I'm not going to stop believing now. The 112, I think, is a good spot for him. Could definitely be different come closer to the season. Got to get through camps and everything. Who knows? Maybe they decide to move on from one of these veteran guys. It's going to be interesting to see. Let's go ahead and recap the first round. So we went Ashton Jeanty, Cam Ward, Omarion Hampton, Tet McMillan, Travis Hunter, Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson, Matthew Golden, Emeka Egbuka, Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, and Jackson Dart.
Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Out here, there's no one way of doing things. No unwritten rules, and no shortage of adventure. Because out here, the only requirement is having fun. Bank of America invites kids 6 to 18 to golf with us. For a limited time, sign them up for a free 1-year membership, giving them access to discounted tee times at thousands of courses. Learn more at bankofamerica.com/golf with us. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America. Restrictions apply. See BofA.com/golf with us for complete details. Copyright 2025 Bank of America Corporation.
We're heading to the second round. Nate, the 201.
I think the 201 was actually very easy. We've already picked a couple running backs here, but we haven't had a running back go off the board in the last 5 picks of the first round. So I had to start off the first round with one of these running backs who was picked day 2. Someone that I said was overrated going into the draft, but we only had 6 running backs picked in, day 2. So I guess he wasn't that overrated because I'm valuing these guys because we had less of these guys drafted day 2 than we expected. I was thinking we'd have double digits of running backs day 2. We did not. The class is deep, but then it became pick your flavor day 3. And as good as this running back class was, I'm not sure if they really gave us what we expected in the actual draft. Not on the prospects, of course, only NFL, and maybe how they're just continuing to value the running back position. If you're not a guy who's like an Ashton Jeanty and a Omarion Hampton, a Quinshon Judkins, a Travion Henderson, then it really does become pick your flavor at this point. But I am good with the flavor of Caleb Johnson with the landing spot of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think this is a match made in heaven, honestly. You get a really physical, good athletic running back with this kind of offense that loves to just bully people. And Caleb Johnson has the power and the speed to do that. I think that, when I doubted his creativity, he doesn't really need that with the Steelers. Not how they play in their offense. It's smash mouth football. They can tell him to run through the hole. His offensive line is going to do the good work, and he's going to take advantage of what they give him. So I like this landing spot a lot. There's a lot of touchdown potential as well there. I don't think a lot of receiving potential because Jalen Warren, I think, will still take over that role.
Kenneth Gainwell still there as well.
Gainwell
Good
there
receiving
as well. But with Caleb Johnson, I can see him getting 1,000 yards this year, 1,200 yards even on the ground. Not much receiving potential, but I could also see him getting double-digit touchdowns. I think this guy is going to be a top 24 running back his rookie year. I don't know if he'll be able to get into the top 12 without the receiving production and how that offense is going to look. We still don't really know who's playing quarterback for them.
Will Howard, maybe.
So
round pick.
While Caleb Johnson doesn't have the upside of the other running backs we've already drafted, I think he has a really, really safe floor, and I'm ecstatic, honestly, to pick him up here at the 201. I would have considered him at even the 210, the 110.
Yeah, and I wouldn't hate that. If it's not a tight end premium, I think it's more likely he goes at the 110. At the 202, I picked Luther Burden going to the Bears. The Bears all of a sudden have some pretty good receiving weapons. You got Rome Odunze out there, DJ Moore is still there, Keenan Allen is gone, Cole Kmet, Colston Loveland, DeAndre Swift, an above-average receiving back as well. I don't know what Roshan Johnson gives you in the receiving game. Still safe. But Luther Burden, he's going to slide in there, and this is definitely a better for NFL than fantasy pick for right now. But, hey, look, Luther Burden's going to come in. He's going to compete. He's going to have opportunities. He's not going to be just on the sidelines at all. The 202, we all love Luther Burden. I think if anyone can manufacture touches for a player like that, it is Ben Johnson.
Exactly.
So I like the landing spot. We saw him crying on when he was drafted. We don't know if that was tears of joy or not, but for me, it's tears of joy. I think it's a great spot. Nate, the 203, we got a nice little run of wide receivers here, a couple of them.
We do.
Who do you have at the 203?
Yeah, at the 203, I got one of my favorite wide receivers going into day 2, and that's Jaden Higgins out of Iowa State. The big outside wide receiver goes to the Houston Texans, and maybe he's not going to be forced to play the X, which a lot of people had questions. Hey, Jaden Higgins is really good at the catch point. He's a good route runner, but he struggles to get separation sometimes. And hey, it's hard when you're 6'3", 6'4" to really get in and out of your breaks and create that separation, but he still plays so well. But if he goes to the Texans and Nico stays playing the X, then that allows Jaden Higgins to just bump inside, be that power slot where a lot of people talked about him really being able to be a mismatch at the next level. If he's able to do that with the top 40 draft capital, I like the landing spot. Tank Dell's probably not coming back anytime soon. No. Stephon Diggs is out of there. Jaden Higgins can step up and be the wide receiver 2 there. He just has to beat out Christian Kirk and his teammate that, got drafted a little bit later. So I like this Jaden Higgins pick a lot. I think I love the Caleb Johnson pick for myself at the 201, but I was not necessarily as invested in picking Jaden Higgins here at the 203. It's not like the easy pick, but I'm more than happy to make it. I do think that once we get into the second round, I know I mentioned the board was open earlier, but it just continues to open up, doesn't it?
It does. And Tank Dell already 25 as well. Yep. So Texans getting slightly younger here and a guy who's bigger, more physical than Tank Dell as well. Tank Dell does play pretty physical for his size. At the 204, I took a guy who's going to come in right away and I think have instant opportunity with the Las Vegas Raiders, and that's Jack Bech. You want to talk about a guy who can play pretty much any position on the field, great after the catch, excellent ball tracking, and very physical with the ball in his hands. This is a fantastic pick for the Las Vegas Raiders. And at the 204, I think it's a good pick for your team as well. It said on ESPN the other day, the Raiders have missed the playoffs in the last 20 of 22 seasons. They have not won a playoff game since the 2002 AFC Championship game. They are tired of being the whipping boys of the AFC West, and there's competition out there. You have the Chiefs, the Broncos are on the up, and the Chargers. They've made moves. Ashton, Jeanty, Geno Smith, Pete Carroll coming in. They needed some wide receiving help. They have Brock Bowers there as well, Jacoby Myers. You still have Michael Mayer. Jack Bech brings some physicality and attitude to that wide receiver position, some toughness that this offense needed desperately. I think he's going to be an instant starter from day one on the field for the NFL. Maybe not for your fantasy team right away, but I love the landing spot in Las Vegas. Nate, some big question marks when this guy was picked in the second round, but we got to talk about it. Who's your guy at 205?
Yeah, the 205, I couldn't let a second-round running back drop any farther in the second round, so I had to go after R.J. Harvey, the running back who was selected to the Denver Broncos in the second round with the 60th overall pick. I didn't expect it. I don't think that R.J. Harvey necessarily projects as a three-down workhorse, and that's usually what you're expecting when you draft somebody.
Poor pass block.
Not just in day 2, but in the second round. R.J. Harvey, if he was a day 2 guy, I wouldn't have been too surprised if he was somewhere near the late third. But late second did seem a little early for myself, but I like it. I'll take it. I liked what he did on the ground. He's very twitchy, very quick. has great lateral agility and a good runner. Now, you mentioned his pass protection, not the greatest. That's why I question if he can be a true 3-down back. Does Sean Payton really want to have one single back? He's talked about having a committee over the past couple months. Is that's what he's looking for? There's not a lot of other guys there. Aldrich Estime right now, maybe we get a little bit of a thunder and lightning. I do think that RJ Harvey has been drafted to be the RB1 of that backfield, so I'm going to take a chance on that here at the 205. But I'm also keeping my expectations, relatively realistic, because I understand that I don't think RJ Harvey is necessarily built physically or has the skill set to be a 3-down back right now.
According to our lads, pretty accurate depth charts. Don't forget, NFL depth charts do not have to be released until late August. So ourlads.com, not a sponsor. You definitely can be if you want. They're one of the more accurate sites for depth charts. They have RJ Harvey listed right now as the RB1. Then we have Jaleel McLaughlin at number 2, Audric estimated 3, and they still have Tyler Beatty and Blake Watson out there as well. So interesting to see how that is going to shake out.
It will be.
206. How about another quarterback, Nate?
All right.
Tyler Shuck from the New Orleans Saints. I did see a great tweet that said the Saints got kicked out of the draft room, and when they came back, Yahoo had auto-picked Tyler Shuck for them. Excuse me, lots of good allergies down here in Baltimore County. But the fact of the matter is, you don't draft a 26-year-old quarterback in the second round without expecting to start him probably sooner rather than later. We don't know what's going on with Derek Carr's shoulder per se. So he's big. He's pretty mobile. He's got a really good arm on him too.
Does.
Some accuracy issues coming in, hopefully with getting some NFL coaching from Kellen Moore. He should be good to go. Tyler Shuck is my pick at the 206.
Nice. That's a good pick, Mike. I think there's good value there. I am happy to pick up the tight end 3 in this draft, and that's Mason Taylor. Here at the 207, I'm getting Mason Taylor, who went to the New York Jets. There's not a lot of offensive pass catchers there outside of Garrett Wilson. So Mason Taylor could show up and be the number 2 target in that offense. We always talk about how we want to chase tight ends who are top 2 target in their offense. Mason Taylor has that opportunity in front of him. Being drafted in the second round with the 42nd overall pick, they obviously have a plan to get him involved quickly. We talked about before the draft how we thought that Mason Taylor was a pretty pro-ready player. He's a blocker. He's good to go in pass downs. So, I think he can step right into that offense. And whether or not he's the actual second target or the third target his rookie year, we're going to see some early fireworks, I think, from Mason Taylor. And at the 207 in a tight end premium, I think this is a very easy pick. I think there's a bit of a drop-off after Mason Taylor to the next tight end. I do like the next tight end, but I do think there's a little bit of a tier break. Mason Taylor kind of being in a tier of his own between his prospect profile and the fact that he got this draft.
Not a lot of great pass catchers for the New York Jets either, short of Mason Taylor, Garrett Wilson. Josh Reynolds is there. Alan Lazard is there. Breece Hall is a fantastic receiving back as well. But there's definitely a hole. He's going to fill it. No pun intended. Jeremy Ruckert's still there as well. Forgive me. But I think things are pretty much done for Jeremy Ruckert. All right, the 208. This is a guy that I've been high on, definitely way higher than you.
Much higher.
Nate. The 208, Trey Harris going to the Chargers, getting some really good draft capital. Another team that needed some receivers and not just or just pass catchers as a whole. Quentin Johnston, we're still not 100% sold on. Maybe the third-year breakout is coming. You have that guy's name?
Lab McConkey?
Lab McConkey. I don't know why I always forget his name. You got Lab McConkey. So I love Trey Harris. He's going into a fantastic situation for him. The Harbaugh offense, I like it more than I thought I would. Omarion Hampton coming in, Najee Harris still there, McConkey, I remembered his name this time, Quentin Johnston, Trey Harris. The Chargers having a fantastic offseason. I've loved what they've done in the draft. This is a great situation, and he might not have to come in right away and be effective. Come in, learn, and we're talking the 208 here, not drafting a guy who you want to have starting right away. If he can, that's a bonus. I've been high on Trey Harris, love the landing spot. Nate, the 209, this one kind of surprised me, this pick. I'm not going to lie. Not saying you making this pick. I understand you picking him here. I just meant the pick in general. What's your 209?
All right, well, before I get to the 209, one other thing with the Chargers is they did bring Mike Williams back.
That's right, they did.
Who better for Trey Harris to learn from than Mike Williams? He knows how to play the X wide receiver position.
Mike Williams.
Now, at the 209, well, real quick, Zach's over there freaking out. Something must have just happened. Zach, what happened? Please tell us.
Krusty Merritt's the
Commanders.
Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt to the Commanders. Live
Rest
update.
in peace, Brian Robinson.
That is Zach's guy. I'm happy for Zach. He got some draft capital.
And so, you would have heard about Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt 2 years ago if you were a patron of ours, patreon.com/Dynasty Rewind. During the season, Nate does his debut player of the week. I do small school big player of the week. So I have talked about him in the past. Head on over there. Try it out for a 1-week free trial. But Nate, I'm sorry, please continue.
All right. Mike, at the 209, would you believe it? I picked a day 3 running back.
I don't have my soundboard here, so I can't hit the applause.
Who would have expected that? There's still day 2 wide receivers on the board, some tight ends. Oh my gosh, can you believe it? I picked up Cam Scatterbo, who got drafted to the Giants in the 4th round with the 3rd overall pick in the 4th round. It's not quite day 2 draft capital, but it's pretty close. And I love the compliment that he has with Tyrone Tracy with the Giants. Cam Scatterbo, a guy that can truly do it all, but we know that he is one of the most physical guys in this draft. He plays with an edge, unlike many of these other guys have. So I love this draft pick. Pairing him with Tyrone Tracy, you got 2 day 3 running backs who are really going to be able to outplay their draft capital. We've already seen it with Tyrone Tracy. I think Cam Scatterbo can do the same thing. The Giants are putting together a pretty nice little offense. They're putting together a competitive team. Let's see if they can make it happen on the field. But either way, Cam Scatterbo definitely seems like he is in line for a good amount of opportunity for a day 3 running back. And I truly believe that he can handle it. He didn't test super great. That's probably why he fell this far.
Yeah.
But, he missed day 2 by 3 picks. I'm going to give it to him. I like the landing spot. I like him as a player. I'm invested here at the 209.
Yeah, I think it's a great pick at the 209. Definitely brings some physicality to the New York Giants offense. Yep. So the 210, I'm going back to the tight end pool. And look at the 210. This is not a guy I'm expecting to start anytime soon. Tyler Higbee is still in Los Angeles, but I'm taking Terrence Ferguson. Terrence Ferguson, I think he's an underrated blocker. Is he the best in this class? He's not. Do I think he's dynamic after the catch? He absolutely is. He finds holes in the defense. He's great in the red zone. He's a big dude. I think he's great. He's going to bring some speed to the Rams offense. Puka Nacua is not the fastest guy. Neither is Devontae Adams. Terrence Ferguson, for a tight end, has great tape speed. I don't know what he got in the 40. I don't remember off the top of my head. Forgive me. But on film, he looks blazing fast. Mm-hmm. Tyler Higbee's just got to get out of the way. Davis Allen's still there. He is now non-existent. Terrence Ferguson's going to be the guy. Sean McVay was raving about him when they were talking on ESPN to Sean McVay. So at the 210, taking a swing on a tight end. I love it. Zach, you're excited. What do you got going on?
Oh, I'm just watching Ja'Cory
Krosky-Merritt highlights. So there you go. Now, we got 2 more picks in the 2nd round. What's your last 2nd round pick?
All right, with the 211, I would have expected this guy to go off the board earlier, both in the NFL draft and in my fantasy drafts, but he ended up staying on the board a little bit longer and maybe didn't get the most ideal landing spot, Mike. That's Jalen Noel going to the Houston Texans with his teammate Jaden Higgins, both going there out of Iowa State. I love Noel as a wide receiver, but I don't think that this places him in a landing spot where he's going to get a ton of volume. Christian Kirk is there, of course. They obviously put a lot of draft capital into drafting his teammate Jaden Higgins with the 2nd overall pick in the 2nd round. That's really good draft capital. That's, I think, just about where T. Higgins was drafted, a couple years back. So obviously they've already invested in the Jaden Higgins. Looks like he can come in and be the wide receiver too. Christian Kirk's there, of course, as well. So Jalen Noel is going to be fighting Christian Kirk most likely for that wide receiver 3 position. And Kirk's a savvy veteran. It's going to be hard to just surpass him for those snaps, especially when their wide receiver 2 is a rookie as well who's still getting used to the NFL. Noel definitely offers a lot, can stretch the field for this team, but if he's going to be the wide receiver 4 to start the season and might be stuck there for a year or so and then still maybe behind Higgins, the upside is a little capped unless maybe things flip and Noel can, overtake Higgins. But I'm going to take my chances with Higgins for the time being, but I can't let Noel fall much further than this. He does have a ton of talent. I liked how he attacked the ball down the field. He could be C.J. Stroud's down the field threat. Might not translate to great weeks every single week in fantasy football, but I certainly think that he's going to be someone I still want to have on my team because the upside there is still great with Noel.
Technically, Christian Kirk signed through 2029, but everything after this season is all void years too. So Noel, at the end of the 2nd round, you got to wait a year likely, and that's going to pay off for you, I believe. So the last pick of the 2nd round, I took Kyle Williams, going to the New England Patriots. Super productive in college at Washington State. The Patriots needed to start to remake their wide receiver room. They drafted Javon Baker last year, Jalen Polk. I know you still have Demario Douglas there, who Nate is a huge fan of. Keishawn Boutte is there. But these were guys from previous. Mike Vrabel coming in, getting his guys. Kyle Williams, a player of this magnitude, he's going to do nothing but help Drake May. I love the pick, and we're talking back end of the second round. I don't think I'm taking a huge swing here at the 212.
No.
This is definitely a guy who's going to be a depth piece for you that could pay off in the long run. Let's recap the second round. The 201, we had Caleb Johnson, Luther Burden, Jaden Higgins, Jack Besh, RJ Harvey, Tyler Shuck, Mason Taylor, Trey Harris, Cam Scatterbo, Terrence Ferguson, Jalen Knoll, and then the aforementioned Kyle Williams.
Uh-oh, the last cookie.
You can get a new box of cookies in as fast as an hour with Walmart Express Delivery.
Are you my guilty self-conscience?
No, I'm the voice offering you promo code EXPRESS for free delivery on your first order.
Hey, who ate my cookies?
You mean, these cookies?
Order now. Welcome to your Walmart. Promotion valid for first express delivery order. $50 minimum subject to availability. Restrictions apply.
Llévate más de lo que esperas todos los días con el nuevo McValue en McDonald's. Ahora puedes comprar uno y sumarle otro por $1. Así que cuando tu equipo favorito enfrente a sus rivales, enfrenta tus antojos con $5 Meal Deals. Y si estás corriendo para alcanzar el desayuno, corre al app para llevarte ofertas antes del cutoff. Tú decides, y con McValue, tu decisión siempre rinde más. Precios y participación pueden variar. BOGO $1 válido para un producto de igual o menor valor. Debe estar registrado en Rewards para ofertas en el app.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile with a message for everyone paying big wireless way too much. Please, for the love of everything good in this world, stop. With Mint, you can get premium wireless for just $15 a month. Of course, if you enjoy overpaying, no judgments, but that's weird. Okay, one judgment. Anyway, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Nate, we're going to go through the third round real quick. The 301, what do you got?
Yeah, so we decided we want to make an extra round in there for everyone.
We torture ourselves for you guys.
Not going to go through these picks quite as deep as the other picks, but I guess we will for the first couple because we do have some names on the board still that people wanted to hear about. And I was waiting all weekend to hear the name Shedeur Sanders called, and it took quite a while with Shedeur, not going into the fifth round. The Browns took the swing on him after already drafting Dylan Gabriel. That quarterback room now looks like Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Deshaun Watson still technically there, Joe Flacco, and Super Bowl champion Kenny Pickett. So quite the quarterback room. I don't know what's going to happen. I think Shedeur Sanders certainly can be the best quarterback there, but they've got to get over whatever, made them drop him this far. They got to make sure everyone's on the same page, that organization and everyone around, Shedeur is on the same page with this. But taking a swing at the 301 with a third-round pick for Shedeur Sanders, no one would have expected this just a couple of days ago. And the upside here is really great. You can get a starting quarterback in the NFL. I don't know if he has top 12 potential on every single season, but he could definitely be a great quarterback 2 for you, very safe quarterback 3 for you.
Oh, yeah.
So taking the chance here with a third-round pick, it's minimal investment. There's some upside there. I'm pretty happy to make it. Mike, you kind of made a similar decision here at the 302.
I did. Look, Sam Howell just got traded away from the Seattle Seahawks today, so Jalen Milroe should be the quarterback 2 in Seattle. That's who I took here. Last time they took a quarterback in the third round was Russell Wilson. That was after they signed Matt Flynn to a big contract. They did that with Sam Darnold this offseason. The parallels are astonishing. I'm not saying that's going to happen. It's just one of those unlikely things that did happen. But the fact of the matter is Jalen Milroe is one bad hit away from being in the game and getting you fantasy points. And at the 302, I like it. He's athletic. He can do all the hard things well, as you've said. So if he could do those easy things well, like process in the pocket, get the ball out quick, the guys in the flat and in the intermediate areas, with his athleticism, sky's the limit. He's everything we wanted Anthony Richardson to be. Nate, the 303.
Yep, at the 303, this is actually probably one of my favorite sleeper picks. I love this landing spot for a day 3 wide receiver, Alec Ayomanor, who went to the Tennessee Titans. Where was it? In the 4th round, the 34th pick. Much later than I expected Ayomanor to go. I thought he was probably going to sneak into the 3rd round and become a day 2 wide receiver. Did not happen for him. But going to the Titans, where there's a lot of need for wide receivers right now, I think Ayomanor has the potential to be one of the best wide receivers in that wide receiver room behind Calvin Ridley as close as the first couple weeks of the season. I think this guy is a great pro. He's got great hands. He's very physical at the catch point, can play outside. They have a need there because Treylon Burks certainly isn't going to be their ex wide receiver. We haven't seen anything from him. So Alec Ayomater, I didn't really want to say this, but I got to say it. If there's going to be a Puka Nakua in this year's draft, it might be Alec Ayomater.
You heard it here first.
So minimal investment here. I love the upside with him in the 3rd round. So give me Alec.
Speaking of minimal investment, to the Titans, Gunnar Helm at 304. Look, Gunnar Helm, great blocker, great receiver, a little more dynamic after the catch than I expected watching him when I put on the film. And we're talking about a low risk, high reward at the 304. The Titans need more pass catchers as a whole. This is a guy who come in. He can help Cam Ward out. And as we saw with Elijah Arroyo, or Arroyo, as Sean Alexander called him during the draft, Cam Ward can get the ball underneath to the tight end. I love the pick here at the 304. Nate, the 305. This was another contested one.
Yeah, 2 Titans off the board right there, Mike, you and I. We like Cam Ward going to the Titans. I think he makes that offense, much better, really elevates them, and them putting some skill position players around them. I want to take a chance on those guys because if one of them hits with Cam Ward, it'd be really, really valuable. With this next pick, talking about young quarterbacks and trying to find weapons that are going to work out for them, I'm going after Pat Bryant with the 305. Another guy that I'm, going back to like my pick with, Jalen Noel or, I'm not super convinced that this guy's going to work out, but I love the upside that he brings because outside of Cortland Sutton, who's only there for 1 more year, Mike, you have Troy Franklin and you have Marvin Mims who've shown flashes, but really have not done much. Pat Bryant plays that X. He's that outside wide receiver who can learn under Cortland Sutton, maybe become something year 2, show some flashes this year. We're talking about Bo Nix, who's a really high upside quarterback right now. I want to find who's going to be his duo partner. And Pat Bryant has as good of a chance as anyone. Might as well throw a 3rd round pick at him.
I took the 306. I took the aforementioned Elijah Arroyo going to Seattle. Dynamic as far as good straight line speed. I don't think he's overly physical. He's not very agile. He is fast. Now you're going to ask yourself, why did I take him so much later than some of these other guys? I think Gunnar Helm is a better prototypical tight end. Terrence Ferguson is faster and more dynamic. Only 1 year behind Tyler Higbee. Noah Fant is good enough to keep Elijah Arroyo off the field. And then some of these other tight ends, they were just drafted a lot earlier and they have much better opportunity to play right away. But in the 3rd round, I'm okay with stashing Elijah Arroyo for a year or 2 if I need to be. Nate, your favorite running back went off the board and you took him to 307.
He did. He went way too late in the actual NFL draft, going in the 6th round to the Saints. But I was ecstatic to pick up Devin Neal, who I still think is a top 10 running back in this draft class. I'm picking him up here at the 307. I think there's a ton of upside here because who's in the running back room outside of Alvin Kamara? Obviously, there's still Kendre Miller, but, I think that Kendre Miller and Devin Neal could coexist. I think Devin Neal has the ability to be competitive with Miller as well. So there's opportunity after Alvin Kamara, who gets a ton of touches, has been around quite a while. And if that team needs to rebuild and get younger, maybe one of these guys get an opportunity. I love Devin Neal. I was taking a chance on him no matter where he landed. I like the Saints landing spot, so give me him at the 307.
Who else is there? They also have Jordan Mims. They have Velus Jones Jr. listed as a running back, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Xavier Valladay.
Wow.
For the New Orleans Saints. So,
Arizona State guy.
Yeah, so great pick there.
Western Michigan, I want to say, or something like that?
Yes. Sure. I don't remember. At the 308, I took a guy who I've been harping on for quite some time. Again, I talked about it in the Patreon last year, so definitely check that out. I have to eat some crow. I said there's no way this guy is getting drafted in the 4th round. I said that on today's live stream, and I was immediately proven wrong because Bashal Tutin goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. ETN is on the last year of his deal. And, Nate, I hate to say this, but Tank Bigsby has 1 more year after this year.
Yeah.
He's only $230,000 cut before next year and only $461,000 cut before June 1st. And look, we'll save money if they cut him after June 1st too. So I'm not saying it's going to happen, but the fact of the matter is there is a path to playing time there for Bashal Tutin. He's physical. He's fast. He's an above-average pass catcher. He does need to work on his pad level a little bit. But at this point in the draft, I'm happy to take a swing on a guy like that. Nate, the 309, some people scratching their heads on this one.
Yeah, I do like the Tutin pick, by the way. I think he's a nice 1-2 punch for Tank Bigsby starting next year.
Yes.
Don't expect much this year, but could be a really good compliment to Tank Bigsby for his final year.
And when they're out of the playoffs, he'll get some run at the end of the year.
There you go. There we go. An offense that's getting really exciting down there. Okay, at the 309, I'm picking up Isaac Tesla, who went to the Lions. They traded up a whole round to go get him. And with how he tested, I believe he was 6'3", ran a 4.4. Isaac Tesla, not a ton of film to go after, but really good athletic testing, caught the ball really, really well at the combine. And the Lions obviously love this guy. He fills the Tim Patrick role for the Detroit Lions. So I don't know what it looks like from a productivity standpoint for fantasy football, but with that offense, anything can happen. I want to take a chance on this guy. The Lions obviously are.
I went ahead at the 310. I took Jordan James from Oregon going to the San Francisco 49ers. And especially if you have Christian McCaffrey, this is a guy you want to get. Those 49ers running backs can't stay healthy, but every guy that comes in there stays productive. They just do.
Yep.
Whoever comes in, they always seem to be productive. They're waiver wire darlings. Get him in the third round of your draft. He's not the most powerful runner, but pretty dynamic, good agility, really good one-cut runner, and I think he's an above-average pass-catching back too. At the 310, I don't mind taking a swing there. Nate, what's your last pick?
My last pick, Mike, if you had told me that I'd be picking the Dallas Cowboys first running back drafted at the 311, I would have been very confused. I thought whoever the Dallas Cowboys would have picked, we'd be picking up somewhere in the second round, if not earlier. But here at the very end of the third round with the 311, I'm picking up Jaden Blue, who went to the Dallas Cowboys in the 5th round with the 12th overall pick in that round. I think he's a great receiving back, but he's not going to be the guy with the Dallas Cowboys. They have Miles Sanders there. They have Javonte Williams there. Jaden Blue is going to be part of that messy backfield, but I do think with his athleticism and pass catching skills, he can be an asset on third downs. He does need to get a bit better at pass protection.
He does.
But I think he can be out there. He can make big plays. He can be efficient. I don't think there's going to be a ton of volume there, but at this point, it's a very muddy backfield. Anything can happen. You're going to take the chance on a guy like Jaden Blue who has some upside. Give me the upside here. Let's take a swing.
Yeah, I like that. They needed some more running back. They needed a good young running back to come in there and do something for that team. I was hoping DJ Giddens would get drafted there.
Yeah.
I thought he would have been a good guy for the Dallas Cowboys, but they got who they got. At the 312, I'm going to end this draft. I took Trevor Etienne going to the Carolina Panthers. I was a little down on Trevor Etienne, but this is a kind of a talent meets opportunity situation. And look, I understand they extended Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard needs a break every once in a while, okay? After him, they have Rico Dowdle, who
my man,
slightly underwhelming at times. I think we could agree to that.
Impressive, more like.
Okay, I think he's slightly underwhelming at times. They do have Jonathan Brooks. It's unlikely that he plays this year. After that, Raheem Blackshear and Amani Bailey. So I think that Trevor Etienne, he's got a good opportunity to get some touches with the Carolina Panthers. They need weapons down there. So at the 310, I'm willing to take a shot on a guy like this going to a team like the Panthers. Let me recap the third round for you. 301, Shedeur Sanders, then Jalen Milroe, Alec Aomanor, Gunnar Helm, Pat Bryant, Elijah Arroyo, Devin Neal, Bashal Tutin, Isaac Tesla, Jordan James, Jaden Blue, and Trevor Etienne. What a draft. We hope you guys enjoyed it. Anybody you think that we missed out on, go ahead, throw it down in the comments. Throw it in the comments on Spotify. Until next time, everybody. For Nate, I'm Mike. We'll see you next time.